What's going on, everybody, and welcome to my review of Free Guy. It's an action-adventure comedy film directed by Shawn Levy, who in the past has brought us such things as the Night at the Museum trilogy, and this movie stars Ryan Reynolds, who plays a character named Guy. And Guy is a mild-mannered bank teller who pretty much lives the same mundane day over and over again, but he's comfortable in his existence, and everything is shaken when one day he meets the woman of his dreams, played by Jodie Comer, her name's Millie, aka Molotov Girl, and the reason I say Molotov Girl is because she is a character in a video game, and she shakes up Guy's world by letting him know that he is a NPC, a non-playable character, in a video game that is styled very similar to things like Grand Theft Auto. There's a lot of video game Easter eggs in this film, including Portal and a few other games, and basically, Guy finds out that he has to become the hero of his own story to save the world that he lives in, and in the meantime, he falls in love with Millie, and she kind of falls in love with him, but it's a bit weird because he doesn't exist. So, yeah, there's a lot of things going on in this, and I'm going to get to that in a sec, but before I do, I just want to say thank you to Kung Pooby, who this video is brought to you by. Kung Pooby is an arcade mobile game that tests not only your memory skills, but also your reflexes. You can collect custom characters, you can punch and kick and dodge your way through a whole bunch of unique gameplays, and the best of all, it is free to play. Now, this game is brought to you by Max Jazz Games, and currently it's only available on Apple, but eventually they are going to look into getting this out for Android as well. And this isn't one of these cases where it's just like someone said, hey, can you plug my game? And I'm like, okay. This game is actually really, really awesome, and it's made by a bunch of really cool people, so get on board. I'm going to drop the links to the site where you can go and have a look at it. It's kungpoopy.com. So speaking of video games, back to this movie, because this movie, from the trailers, I kind of thought, okay, it looks like a fun, kind of dumb action movie. Love Ryan Reynolds, even though, most of the time he just plays Ryan Reynolds, which isn't a bad thing. I went into this movie not really knowing what to expect, but it is easily my number one favorite movie of this year. I've seen it twice now, and I love this movie because it gave me a hell of a lot more than I thought it was going to. So for starters, everyone is cast so goddamn well in this movie. Like I said, Ryan Reynolds, yeah, he's playing Ryan Reynolds, but he was the perfect actor for this role, as this kind of naive, dumb guy who's oblivious to, things going on and stuff. I mean, there are scenes where he's like walking through town, there's explosions going off and tanks driving through and people murdering each other, and he's just like, don't have a good day, have a great day. He was perfect in that role. I loved Jodie Comer as Millie, aka Molotov Girl. She just brought such a warmth to the role. Like, I haven't actually seen her in anything else. I know she's been in a whole bunch of things, but I don't believe I had seen her in anything before. But you just fall in love with her, and she was so great in both the roles as well. For a British actress, like when she's Millie, she has an American accent. When she's Molotov Girl, the character in the game, she has her British accent. And yeah, she switched between the two like perfectly well. She was great. Joe Keery, I believe his name is, plays her creative partner, Walter Keys McKee, who just goes by Keys. I like the dynamic between those two as well. There was this kind of, relationship tension where the audience is sort of like, man, I want those two to get together. Will they? Won't they? I don't know, because Millie, of course, has fallen in love with Guy, and it's sort of like, wow, that's just not going to end well, because Guy doesn't exist. So that was interesting. I really dug that it sort of did something a little bit different. But the absolute standout for me, other than Ryan Reynolds, was definitely Taika Waititi as Antoine, who is the head of Tsunami Games. He was so freaking good in this. He plays this smarmy, sarcastic asshole of a boss, but you know, he doesn't, sometimes he goes a little over the top, but he's always just restrained it enough that he's never annoying. And there were even a couple of moments where you almost feel a bit of sympathy for the character, and I really dug that. Like, he was an interesting character. He sort of had a little bit more depth than just, you know, evil corporate bad guy. So he was great, but the thing that really I took away the most from this movie was that Guy is a beacon of freedom. You know, he is, like, once he sort of starts figuring out that he is in control of his own destiny, the story gets really interesting and inspiring from there. Like, this is a movie that if you are one of these people who doesn't like your daily routine, you know, if you're stuck in a 9-to-5 job and you come home and you feed your pet and you watch TV, you have dinner and then you go to bed and then, you know, rinse, repeat, and you want something more out of life, you know, this is the kind of movie that is possibly going to give you that little bit of a push you need, you know? I found it really inspiring. There were so many moments where you just want to cheer at this character for, you know, seizing the day and taking control of his life and making something big out of it. Like I said, you know, being the hero of his own story. In terms of visual effects and everything, the movie looked incredible. There is always something going on the screen. Like, some scenes, it pays to see the movie a couple of times because there is that much going on the screen in the background, particularly, like I said, little video game references or Easter eggs. The gamers are gonna, like, be able to pick up on. If you've never played a game before in your life, you're still going to enjoy this movie. It isn't something that you need to, you know, have an encyclopedic knowledge of the history of Grand Theft Auto going into it. And not only that, like, I cannot spoil anything because there are so many great surprises in this film. There are some cameos from very famous actors. A couple of them were only voiceovers, but there is a cameo from a famous actor, but it's not so much his cameo, it's what comes before that cameo, like leading into it. There are some pop culture wet dream moments in this film. A little bit in the vein of, like, Ready Player One, but they didn't overdo it. It was just like one scene where a few things happened. But yeah, the movie, it did give me Ready Player One vibes in a way. A lot of Truman Show, a bit of Tron. It did borrow from a few things like that, but not in a bad way. It still managed to feel fresh. If I did have to criticize the film at all, it's just minor stuff. There are these moments where it felt a bit far-fetched in a movie like this, where programmers are able to just sort of, like, you know, bash a bunch of keys and quickly make something happen in the game in order to, you know, help the heroes out, and, you know, if they're being pursued or whatever, which I kind of thought felt a little lazy. And there are a couple of other things as well, a couple of little inconsistencies where, you know, they establish a law or a rule of the game which later on gets broken. Yes, Fraser, I had to mention that. But, you know, all these things were just really minor. Like, none of the flaws in the film detracted from how much enjoyment I had from this film. I could easily watch this film again right now. Like, it is a highly rewatchable film. I am easily going to buy it the day it comes out on Blu-ray. If I can, I really, really want to get a 3D Blu-ray of it, because it is the kind of movie that would look jaw-dropping in 3D. But look, absolutely go and see this movie if you're able to, or, you know, when it comes to streaming, check it out, although it really does look good on a big screen. But look, that being said, a couple of minor flaws here and there and everything, but from the amount that I absolutely loved and had so much fun with this film, I am going to give Free Guy a 9 out of 10. Alrighty, so there you go. That is my thoughts on what is my #1 movie of the year so far, which I really didn't expect it was going to be, but here we are. So yeah, look, if you guys have seen Free Guy, then I would absolutely love to know what you thought of it. What were some of your favorite scenes in the film? Because there are so many great ones. But yeah, and thank you again to Kung Pooby, to Max Jazz Games. Make sure you go check them out. And yeah, let me know what you thought of Free Guy. Drop me some comments, either here, Facebook, or Twitter. All the social media links are in the description below, because I like to talk about movies and I would love to talk about movies with you. Catch you next time.
Click subscribe to stay up to date with all the latest movie reviews. Skynet will be taking over any day now, so what have you got to lose? Nyah.